to the Backcountry Hope podcast. This is part one of a two-part of Genesis 25. I wanted to break it down to two sections, and I'm doing this part by myself, just because it's a lot of names, just some genealogy. And then the second part is going to be the story of Jacob and Esau, and then we're going to get a little bit into Genesis 26. My co-host and wife, Lindsay, will be back for that one. So today we're going to start off with the death of Abraham. Genesis 25 verse 1 says, Abraham had taken another wife, whose name was Keturah. She bore him, by the way, I'm not very good at pronouncing these names. I'm going to try my best. So it goes on to say, she bore him Zimran, Jokshan, Medan, Midian, Ishbak, and Shua. Jokshan was the father of Sheba and Dedan. The descendants of Dedan were the Ashurites, the Lidushites, and the Lumanites. The sons of Midian were Ephah, Epher, Hanak, Abida, and Elada. All these were the descendants of Keturah. Abraham left everything he owned to Isaac, but while he was still living, he gave his gifts to the sons of his concubines and sent them away from his son Isaac to the land of the east. So most of these tribes were, most of these descendants of Abraham were nomadic peoples. They did not really sit down in one spot. They traveled around, constantly. A lot of these civilizations back then, people just moved around, and wherever they found resources, they were kind of traveling. I did find a note that said the Midianites were descendants of Midian, children of Abraham. He settled somewhere on both sides of the Gulf of Aqaba. I have a map over here. I'm gonna close this down. This is just the Middle East in general. This is right here next to the Sinai Peninsula. This is the Gulf of Aqaba. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. So it's between Egypt and Saudi Arabia, a little bit of Jordan, and Israel to the north. So we're gonna come back. And then I put 9 through 11 in my notes, but I think I'm going to go and just read 8 through 11. So it says, And Abraham breathed his last and died at a good old age, an old man and full of years. And he was gathered to his people. His sons Isaac and Ishmael buried him in the cave of Machpelah near Mamre, in the field of Ephron, son of Zohar the Hittite. The field Abraham had bought from the Hittites. There Abraham was buried with his wife Sarah. After Abraham's death, God blessed his son Isaac, who lived nearby in Beer Lahai Roi. So, right there, the promise that God had for Abraham, it was passed on to his son through God. So, the promise of Abraham, I will bless you. Let me go back to it. I don't want to paraphrase. I know it, but having a moment here, I want to be 100% accurate. In Genesis 12, it says, The Lord said to Abraham, Go from your country, your people, to your father's household, to the land I will show you. I will make you into a great nation, and I will bless you. I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and whoever curses you, I will curse, and all the peoples on the earth will be blessed through you. So God passed on the promise to him. And we go on to the next section of Genesis 25. It goes into Ishmael's sons. So we're going to get into verse 12. It says, This account of the family line of Abraham's son Ishmael, whom Sarah's slave Hagar, an Egyptian, bore to Abraham. These are the names of the sons of Ishmael listed in order of their birth. Nebaioth, the firstborn of Ishmael, Kedar, Adbeel, Mibsam, Mishma, Duma, Massa, Hadad, Hema, Jatar, Nephish, Kedemah. These were the sons of Ishmael, and their names of the 12 tribal rulers according to their settlements and camps. Ishmael lived 137 years, and he breathed his last and died, and he was gathered to his people. His descendants settled in the area from Havilah to Shur, near the eastern border of Egypt, as you go toward Ashur, and they lived in hostility toward all tribes related to them. So, right there, those were the descendants of Ishmael. And I had a map I'm going to show you. It shows you the general region of where they had settled. So, does it not where it goes? Okay, so we have Shur, which is on right where it says in verse 18, it says, the descendants settled in the area from Havilah to Shur, near the eastern border of Egypt, as you go toward Ashur, and they lived hostilely toward all the tribes related to them. But so here, Shur is on the east side of Egypt, and Hevlah or Havilah, or whatever it says, I think it's Hevlah, that goes to about the middle of Iraq, so it's pretty much Jordan. Let's see, I get up that other map here. So you have the general idea of this one. We'll go back. So it'd be in this region here, right next to the Sinai Peninsula, a little bit of Jordan, pretty much all this area of Saudi Arabia, parts of Kuwait, and Iraq. That is where Havilah or Hevlah to Shur is. And they did live in hostility towards each other. They did not get along. Trying to get back. Still trying to get used to the two screens when I'm doing stuff like this. Bear with me. Yeah, so I got a new setup, but I'm kind of trying to tweak things out and get used to both. Sorry about that. But go back to Genesis 16. I'm gonna start in verse 11 and read to 12. It says, the angel of the Lord said to her, this is the angel appearing to Hagar. It says, you are now pregnant, and you'll give birth to a son. You shall name him Ishmael, for the Lord has heard of your misery. He will be a donkey of a man, and his hand will be against everyone, and everyone's hand against him, and he will live in hostility towards all his brothers. So in Genesis 16, the angel of the Lord had appeared to Hagar and already told him that, you are going to be a blessing because, your child will be a blessing. Many nations will come from him, but they will live in hostility towards each other. We just read in Genesis 25, and he confirms that. He confirms that at the very end there. It said all tribes, no. His descendants settled in the area of Havilah as they go toward. And they lived in hostility toward all the tribes related to them. So that part of the blessing or promise or whatever was kept on. I wouldn't call it a blessing because they're living hostility towards each other, but pretty much that's what the angel had said previously many years before, and now confirming that they did live in hostility towards each other. I think that they both got blessing, they both got land. Ishmael and Isaac. Promise had continued, and we will learn more about the promise of their land and where people have gone over it as we get into more details. Next week will be part 2 of this series. It's gonna be the story of Jacob and Esau. So that's all we have for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed. God bless. Have a good week. Hope to see you guys next week.